What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Bulls Report by Chat Sports. Before we dive into the whole Lonzo Ball, Stephen A. Smith drama, where frankly I think Stephen A. looks like an absolute idiot in this situation, I want the comment section to be flooded with Zoes. Show Lonzo Ball our support as Bulls fans and just show him some freaking love, because he's not getting love from national media members like Stephen A. Smith, and I think he looks like an absolute clown. So we'll be diving into all that, but make sure you guys type those Zoes down in the comment section, and let's get into it right now. Welcome into the Bulls Report by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman. On today's show, we're going to be diving into Lonzo Ball calling out Stephen A. Smith for a completely BS report. And this is what actually Stephen A. had to say on First Take. This happened yesterday. And then we obviously will get to Lonzo's reply here. But this is what Stephen A. had to say when talking about Lonzo Ball. He said, "I heard it's even hard for Lonzo Ball to get up from a sitting position." Pretty much saying Lonzo Ball's knees are so cooked that he can't even stand up out of a chair. And it was actually funny what Lonzo had to respond to Stephen A. Smith with an actual video of Lonzo sitting down in a chair, and he kept getting up and down from it. And while he was doing that, this is the quote that Lonzo had to say. He said, "Stephen A., who are your sources, bro? Please tell me who your sources are. Come on, man. You got to stop yapping. And I actually like you. Man, I don't even like you like that, but I like you. I'm coming back, man. Come on." That freaking fired me up and made me so happy, especially that last line of saying, "I'm coming back, man." That's just one of those things where, like, the Lonzo situation has been so sad. Like, it's been one of the saddest stories in the NBA. So to see him say that, it honestly put a smile on my face because, frankly, I think Stephen A. looks like a freaking idiot for calling out Lonzo Ball, and I think Lonzo had the perfect response because overall I feel for Lonzo. Like, I feel for what he's gone through throughout his NBA career. Like, he's went up through the ups and downs. He was this high school phenom. He was a college phenom. And then obviously he got to the NBA and kind of had some welcome to the NBA moments. I mean, his first game, Patrick Beverley was in his hip pocket the whole time, yapping in his ear, talking about your daddy's kid and all of this. And he overcame the shadow that LeVar put on him. And he really started to turn into a very tremendous NBA player. But then injuries obviously just held him back when he was looking like a true fourth best player for the Bulls that year when the Bulls were at the top of the Eastern Conference. And I think Stephen A., I think he should be frankly embarrassed. I think this is just embarrassing from his side. I think all of ESPN should be embarrassed that you have Stephen A. going back and forth with a guy who has one of the saddest stories in all of sports. And this wasn't even like a story where, like, Lonzo Ball was in control of what happened to him. Lonzo had a freak accident and freak injuries that have held him out for the past 2.5 seasons. It was a year and a half ago when Lonzo Ball was officially removed from the Bulls lineup. Then obviously he missed all of last year, and we now all know that Lonzo's going to miss this upcoming season. I think Stephen A. should be absolutely embarrassed by what he's done and why about calling out Lonzo Ball for saying he can't even get up out of a chair. I just think it's absolutely embarrassing from his point. But now I do want to take a look at just Lonzo Ball's career because I think he does have one of the coolest stories and just overall coolest careers that we've seen in the modern day, NBA. We can start back from high school, man. I mean, look at this picture. Look at little young Lonzo next to his brother LaMelo and his other brother LeAngelo playing at Chino Hills for those Huskies. I remember as a high schooler watching these tapes, watching the Ball is Life mixtapes, watching these three absolutely dominate high school basketball. He was an absolute legend on YouTube. He was a Ball is Life legend. He was one of the first guys that, I got to see personally go from high school, go to college, and then go to the league. And then second, he was a UCLA legend as well. Like, as a true freshman, he had one of the better freshman years in college basketball history. Like, he came on the UCLA, teamed up with guys like TJ Leaf, and they went on a Sweet 16 run. Obviously, they ended up losing to actually De'Aaron Fox and Bam Adebayo, their Kentucky team. Thinking about that, absolutely nuts. Like, that you had Lonzo versus De'Aaron in that Sweet 16 matchup where obviously Lonzo and the boys ended up falling, but he was a beast at UCLA. Like, I remember against Oregon and the Dylan Brooks-led Ducks, he hit that sweet step-back three. He had that still little side motion jumper. So it's cool to see him, at college. One of my favorite players ever in college basketball. But then we got to the third part of his NBA career. where he really struggled in the NBA at first. And I think a lot of this was because of his dad. I think his dad put this kind of lofty expectations on him. Before he even played an NBA game, like he said that he was better than Stephen Curry. So it put a target on his back. He had these other guys, these other NBA defenders, like they wanted to go at him and they wanted to kind of prove his dad wrong. And then he was kind of the victim of all this. But Lonzo, what did he do? He got in the lab and he got better each and every year. And this is the coolest part. What he did for his jump shot, I think is just kind of speaks to his work ethic. And I think it just speaks to his overall basketball intelligence. Look at this old jump shot Lonzo had. He had a slingshot. It was literally coming across his body. And as an NBA, you just want to get to as a shooter, you just want to get to the same release point every single time. It was just hard for Lonzo because he had the elbow out coming here. I mean, we all know what growing up playing basketball, beef, like balance, eyes, elbow, follow through. Lonzo was all over the place. He had this little slingshot here, and it was cool to see. Like when he went to New Orleans, he really hopped in his bag, and it was more of that straight up motion where it turns out, or it led to him shooting over 41% from three his year with the Chicago Bulls. And it gets to my fifth point. I think he's a Chicago Bulls legend. He can never play a game for the Bulls the rest of his career, or he can never even suit up in Chicago ever again. But I will be calling him a Chicago Bulls legend until I die, because that season, what he got out of not just himself and not just for the fans, but what he got out of this entire team. DeMar DeRozan was averaging 28 points a game that year. Zach LaVine was averaging 25. That was the best I've ever seen Nikola Vucevic look in my life. The thing that I love about Lonzo was that he got it done on the defensive side of the floor. He could guard legitimately 1 through 3 at the highest level. He was great in transition, getting the ball out, passing it up to his teammates. He was fantastic at that. And we really saw in those 35 games when the Bulls were the first seed in the Eastern Conference, I think we finally got to see Lonzo, truly come into his own and really just kind of fill out his kind of, basketball potential, because his archetype of player is that 6'6", athletic, defensive-oriented guard. Like, how valuable is that? And it just honestly, man, it breaks my heart, talking about Lonzo, because he's a guy that, it's not like he came from the slums. It's not like he had this, true, started from the bottom story, but, he had to overcome his dad. He had to overcome all the criticism and all the scrutiny he received in his first couple years in the league. He overcame it all, and, he finally had those flashes where he was in a big-time city like Chicago. He was playing winning basketball. He was just overall, turning himself into a hell of an NBA player. So I want to do it one more time. We got to show Lonzo Ball some love. And I'll say this again, Stephen A., you're an idiot. I just think it's embarrassing that you are probably one of the biggest talking media heads in the entire world, and you're going back and forth with Lonzo Ball. I get it's kind of all fun and games too, but the fact that this came out of his mouth saying, I heard it's even hard for Lonzo Ball to get up from a sitting position, which turns out it was just not true at all. I just think Stephen A., I just think he looks like an absolute idiot, and I hope, Stephen A., if you see this, you probably won't, but you're an idiot, dude. So make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button. Any news that comes out, even like this, even if it's Lonzo Ball getting in with beef with Stephen A. Smith, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP. Make sure you guys subscribe, lock us in. Bulls coverage coming your guys' way almost every single day. Hit that sub button, lock us in. Go Bulls.